So this is my little vintage shop 6-panel brochure. I just want to show a few more tricks on how to design something very, very quickly and create some paragraph styles and whatnot. So quickly, we're gonna grab it. I grabbed a few other images right there that look pretty good. So I want to bring that one in there, and I want to do just what I've done earlier. I just want to stretch it out. But this time I want to stretch it all the way down here. Or maybe actually all the way down there, right? I'm just going to stretch this image down there, select my little target right there that selects the image, and then I just press and hold the shift key, stretch it all the way down there, and there's my image. And it is still at 16%, so it's a pretty high res image, right? So I want to keep that little horse right there in the corner, maybe the baskets, something like that. Yeah. So I'm just going to move it around a little bit, maybe a little bit more actually. I'm just gonna zoom in a little bit more. Let's do 20%. There you go. So I don't get rid of the plate and I just keep the horse. Like so. So this is what we're gonna do here. We're gonna do something like that. We're gonna grab this. We're not gonna do this. We're gonna do a quick little image frame right there over this area right here within my margin, right? Not running across. And I want to go put contact us, telephone 431234567, email, name at vintageshop.ca because it's a Canadian shop. I'm going to put, what is this, Jubilant 36 point. So I'm going to change that to Jubilant Black. That's a little bit thick. Bold. I'm going to make that 20 points. And I'm just going to make that times because I have a little bit more styles within the Times New Roman instead of the regular standard median. So here, I want to have something like this, right? So I want to have a little bit of transparency going on. So I'm going to choose color to match what we had earlier. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into properties right here. And so right here, you have the ability to change the opacity of the whole thing, right? So if you change it like that, it becomes gray. It's murky. That's exactly what I want, but I don't want the type to be like this, right? You have, so this is just the opacity in general, and you have also an opacity blend, basically, just like in Photoshop. So you have normal, multiply, this is what it does. Overlay, this is what it does, et cetera, et cetera. Luminosity, it goes bananas on you. Soft light, hard light, So you have this different blending mode, and it's just like in Photoshop for your layer. We're going to keep that on normal. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under effects, under object effects, and then transparency right here. And here it opens up this little dialog window. And here I have, of course, all the drop shadow. So if I press preview, this is what it does. All the different effects. Satin. It's a horrible looking thing. Inner shadow. I mean, you can mess things up pretty quickly, nicely. But if you don't select any of those and you stay in the transparency aspect right there, so you have, again, it reflects what you have in your properties right here on the right hand side. You can change it to whatever you want, right? Just like what I showed you. But you can. This is the setting for the object. If you pull this down, you have the settings for the fill, the stroke, which I don't have one right now, but the fill and the text. So you can do, for the fill, I can change the transparency effect just for the fill. So I can change my overall transparency without affecting the text, for example, right? So I can do, I'm going to make it at, 75%, give or take, and I'm going to make it multiply, right? So it's darker and it's cool like this, right? The text itself, I'm going to keep it like this for now. And then that's it, right? So that's a tiny, tiny little trick right there. The text itself, I'm going to go back to my color theme right here. I'm gonna make it, I don't know, maybe not that color. No, it can lose, you can lose it. And I'm gonna keep it white. And then all of that stuff, I'm gonna make it white as well. Again, you know, you select your object, you right click on it, text frame options to give yourself a little bit of an inset spacing, which is an inner margin, right? So if I click on that, this is what happens, just a tiny little margin from the top. If I center, if I select the linking stuff, so it's basically all around, you will have that inset all the way around, right? You can just bump it down like this. So I don't necessarily want that. I want to just change a little bit on the left. Come on, unselect that, right? And let's give it a, let's say, 1/4 of an inch, just like the margin. Click OK. And another trick as well, within your, no, it's not a trick, it's a tool. In your control bar here, you have either the text or the paragraph controls right there. So it allows you, when you have a small screen like a laptop, you'll have to switch back and forth. If you have a wide screen like a desktop, everything will appear. It'll just switch sides, right? So it'll prioritize whatever you want to have first. So I switch to paragraph right here. And then I add a little bit of a space after right here, right? So you can see the lines of text and then a little gap behind it. And that's what it does, is it just creates a gap after your paragraph, right? Because if you go under view, under type, so at the very, very bottom, show hidden characters. Here, this is my paragraph return right there. There's another one here, another one here. So this, even though it's one line, it is still a paragraph, right? So that's what I want. I want to have just a tiny little gap like this. But what I want as well is I want to have, you know, maybe, you know, a better tab right there for the address. You know, let's see, I don't know, 2000 Vintage Ave, Southeast. Oops, it was in all caps, so I apologize for that. I'm screaming at you guys. For example, right, something like this. Whatever, right? This is a little bit large, so I'm just going to reduce that. 10 point. And I want to do, you know what, for this particular text right there, I want to center that guy right there. I'm going to center it. But then it's slightly off. I'm not a big fan. So as I'm changing things on the fly, I'm just going to change that to my color theme right here, dark brown. And then here, same thing here. I want to use my eyedropper this time, not the color theme. Eyedropper, and I'm going to select my text right here, and I'm just going to click on the one above, and it picks up the same color and the same style right there. So that's an example, for example. But what I've done here is, if I show my invisible characters right here, if I put in front of the phone number here, I put a tab, for example, in there, right? So this is, by default, it's going to be a, you know, 1/2 inch or 1/4 of an inch tab. I'm going to do the same thing here, and I'm going to do the same thing here. So, but what I have here is I want to change my tabs to, you know, give the contact info just a little indentation, but just a little bit, right? So same thing here. I want to have another tab here, another tab there. So select all that stuff. You go under type, and then you go under tab right here. And here, how to add a tab is you select the one from the left, center, right, justified, and you have to click to put a new tab in your ruler, because this is basically the ruler that is matching the length of your text box. You have to go between the ruler and then that tiny little white space right in between right there, and you click right there, and this is where the first tab it will be, right? So by luck, it's 0.125, which is 1/8 of an inch. And because I have a second one right here, I want to put the second one, let's say, right there at 0.375. I'm lucky I'm hitting the fractions of an inch. I can close that. So now there, there, my tabs are perfect, right? And then this one lines up. Now the thing is, I created here, instead of a new paragraph, which is just a regular return key right there, this is a regular paragraph. What I did is I did a soft return, which is shift return. And shift return, what it does is, you can see the little icon there. It looks like it's basically a line that goes, it's basically puts it back to the next line, right? So this is still the same paragraph, but it has a line break, basically. And then what I want to do here is I want to line that up without having to add those tabs. So what I do is I go Command, and it's the backslash key, or also a vertical divider on your keyboard. On the Mac keyboard, it's between the delete and the return key. And then this is what it does. It creates this weird looking cross character right there. And that lines up the following line to that specific character. So if you move that character out of the way, so if you have to select just a character, delete that one. If I put, for example, that character right here, for example, I go again, Command and then straight divider, it'll line up here, right? It'll line up wherever you put it, right? So it's a cool little trick to line things up very, very quickly. And why I wanted to show you that is because what I did earlier here, I did a little space after. Remember the little gap right there, 0.125. And you can do the same thing with all that stuff. You add a space after, right? Oh, I'm going to run in a room. I'm going to stretch it up a little bit. So you can add a space after all those paragraphs. But this paragraph right here stays together. If I had a regular paragraph, it would create that gap in between those two lines, and I don't want that, right? So I want to keep that as one paragraph and have that space after for each paragraph. You can see that it highlights the lines and has that little gap in between the text of lines. So this is not exactly the best example because it's really, really tight, right? If I hide all that stuff, hit my W key, this is really, really, really tight. So I'm going to make that guy a little smaller. It doesn't need to be 20 points. 14 point will be, or 16 point will be perfectly fine. All that stuff does not need to have that much gap. Oh, 0.625, it's fine. Yeah, that's just like that. Contact us, and it has a little subtle, tint to it, and a little bit of transparency, and that's kind of like the way to build stuff in a very simple, very quick way like this.